So now for soil. To start off with, the people behind our thematic working group, 11 in total, and those are the names, and those are the faces. And to say something about these faces, I have some more. This is version 0, kick off more or less in ISPRA. And do look very well to the faces and the way people stand, because we are progressing for the next version, version 2, in Wageningen. A bit closer, a bit more happy, 2011. Then version 2. Not smiling too much because we had 240 comments, but okay, it's better. And just finishing version 3. Sun is shining, everyone is laughing, so basically I can stop now. Because now you know all the versions. But don't worry, I have some more slides prepared, so I will continue. Some facts and figures. 11 members, as I said, 3 years. For everyone the same, 65 telecons, 7 face-to-face meetings, 3 cross-team workshops, 3 versions, as you know. Well, then a little bit difficult pages in the versions, 119. We thought that was much too much, it should be less. So, in version 2 we had 6 more. And then we decided to simplify the model, which ends up in 372 pages. Didn't succeed in that, but anyway, it was a simpler version of the model. 15 use cases, which we started off with in the first place. As I said, 240 comments, version 2, 4 comments on the implementing rules, and almost 3 Inspire conference passed by. Definition and context of soil, which is not changeable. It was already in the directive before we started. Soil and subsoil characterized according to depth, texture, structure and content of particles and organic material, sturdiness, erosion, where appropriate mean slope and anticipate water storage capacity. And our assignment was more or less to develop exchange specification of soil data within the soil domain, across domain borders of spatial data infrastructure of Europe. Focus on now present situation, but also on the future present developments. Scope, as every working group did before they started, we had 2 main parts in our scope: the soil inventories, the one of assessments of soil conditions, more or less the point location where all the characteristics of the soil is collected, and the other one delineating those points into soil mapping procedures, providing a spatial representation of all those properties linked to the soil. Methodology should be familiar. In our case we had 15 use cases which we studied in detail and which gave us the source and the specifics of what we should model in the end. We had 3 use cases in the agri-environmental sector, indicator sector domain. We had 7 for the thematic maps derived from the soil information. So it means already, as you can see, that there are many other teams which are related to soil in the fact that they use them. We had a lot of discussions about contaminated sites, also based on those 4 use cases we prepared, and 1 on soil monitoring. And also what we did is that, it's not readable, but it gives the impression of what we did, kind of cross-reference between the 15 use cases on top and the regulations in the European Union, which we thought of that would be important to be reflecting what we would model in the different use cases. The soil model. I have to check a minute because I had an updated version on the laptop behind, and I'm not sure if the people there behind can change it still, because there's some more slides which makes it more clear. Yeah. Behind, for the people supporting the media, I had an updated version, so is it possible to change quickly to the other one? Otherwise we stick to this one, but it gives some more explanation. Never mind, I will stick to this. If we can see it, then we see that. We can change afterwards, probably. I should have checked. Anyway, the model. Yeah, he did it. So maybe he knows. Just a short moment. Hopefully it can be done quickly. No, it's a different presentation, sorry. Otherwise, I will. Yeah, could you put it up? Okay. Quickly. Okay, this is where I stopped. So, going to the modeling process, we should make a representation of soul. And to express that, I have three ways in which you can do that: in graphics, in words, and in classes. Most better known as in UML diagrams, class diagram. First of all, graphics. This is one which we had made before to make a real distinction. What is the distinction between soul and geology? And basically, there is an overlap, and that's what we noticed. But principle is that for soul, there are some soul-forming processes which define that part of it will be considered to be the soul theme, and the genetic processes which are basically more in a deeper and a bigger layer are the geological processes. So we are a little bit in overlap, but we stick to the upper part of the soil, which is basically 1 to 2 meters. And when we see that what is in the upper part, then we have a profile, which is the basis of all our measurements and all our characteristics, in which we can divide in two profile like a stack of layers. One is the horizons, which is specifically pedogenetic, so for soil forming processes, and also what you can distinguish in the upper part, some more pedogenetic layers which can be coincide together. And those profiles, they are located on the Earth somewhere on a location with some characteristics of the context in the real, in the nearby environment of that location, which we call the soil plot. That was the one part of the scope which I said, that you have your point locations, and what we also want to do is to map those characteristics into soil maps, which means that you want to delineate, and this is a representation of that, is that you have at the one hand your observed profiles, which is one object we defined, and based on those observed profiles we have also not really georeference, but a kind of reference profiles which we called derived soil profiles, and those are going to be used to characterize the soil bodies, as we call it, so elements of the soil which has mostly more than one different derived soil profiles, but it can be one or more, and you indicate which part of that derived soil profile as a percentage is inside that soil body. So basically that is what the model is in graphics. Then we have the model in words, and the major spatial objects we have, and we have already seen them in the pictures. The soil profile, we have two types, observed and derived. And those profiles, those exist from elements, either be a layer or either be a horizon. And then we have the soil body, which is the delineated part of the Earth in which the characteristics are present. We also know something like a derived soil object, which has one or a specific characteristics for a certain theme. And we have the soil site and the soil plot, which indicates where that is located. In the annexes we have also something about an extension, which is not part of the legislation, and that would be the contaminating issue, which was very sensitive, and we decided that that should be one of the annexes. And the last way you can represent it is in classes, the UML diagram, not readable as well. but this is for monitoring, this is the profile, as I said, this is the map for delineation, and this is for deriving information from soil characteristics. So basically, what the soil model does is that it uses a standard classification system, which is, in our case, the WRB, the World Reference Base. It's not mandatory in the sense that we mentioned it as a preferred system to use, because it's not always present, but it gives all over the world the same way of how you can describe your soils. So what I said, contamination is not included as an extension. It is put into the annex, so it is more like a way how to do it, instead of that it is an implementing rule, or instead of it being a technical guideline. Important parameters in the module, also depending on the EU regulations we had in our first diagram, our graphic, is that the soil profile has as main characteristics what I said, the WRB name, and it could be also a national, a local classification type, potential root depth, available water capacity, carbon stock, and water drainage. The soil element, part of the soil profile, gives at least the particle size fraction, organic carbon content, and some chemicals. And the soil derived object, the potential root depth, available water capacity, carbon stock, water drainage, particle size fraction, organic chemicals, carbon content, and also some of the chemical parameters. So, the last slide. Relevance. Why should you use it? Because interoperability is important. Also, no scale. So it is useful in every situation, as it should be. It's not a real soil database, which is always difficult to discuss, but it is for exchange of soil data in an infrastructure. And it is important because of exchanging information in other teams, other domains, also in other countries. It doesn't matter if you have a national or international classification. If you have it harmonized, it should work. The focus on the data is mainly because it's focused on the adopted European regulations. And to achieve the result, of course, it's a legal thing, so member states are enforced to implement it. And it's expected that the structure can build in the future, because we also said that we had our vision onto the future, so it should work in the future by using extensions in the way we provided one in the annex. Thanks for your attention.